arrive alongside it. At least that's what a new leak suggests. An image of a new Apple Pencil surfaced on March 3rd from Singapore-based Twitter user Mr. White, and it looks more like the original Apple Pencil than we would have expected. But before we get worried, we'll note that this is just one angle of the new stylus. Most obvious difference between this pencil and the most recent model is what appears to be a glossy finish. The second-gen Apple Pencil has a matte finish, which makes it easier to grip than the glossy original Apple Pencil. Looking closely at the detached tip, it appears to be much larger than the tips in either of the current Apple Pencils. Apple isn't the kind of company that increases the size of a product without serious reason, so it could be upsized to add a new capability. The other patent concerns a light sensor system inside the Apple Pencil tip, so you could pull color from one object and paint with it in an app, which sounds pretty cool to us. What we don't see, though, is any flat edges, though we have reason to believe they're on the side. Lying flat on the shown surface, the Apple Pencil 2 relies on its flat side to attach to the iPad Pro, and it's essential for stopping the pencil from rolling away accidentally, including information on the possible screen, specs, design, and features. And while we don't know exactly when it will land yet, we've also included details of the possible release date and price, from 5G to a mini LED screen. There could be a lot of upgrades in the 2021 iPad Pro. Our best guess for when the iPad Pro 2021 will launch in March, like its predecessor launched in March of 2020 specifically. It was unveiled on March 18th and went on sale a day later, so we might see something similar this year. That said, another leak suggests that components for the display may not enter production until the end of March or later, which might mean the tablet doesn't arrive quite by then. Either way, though the first half of the year looks very likely, there's no news on what the iPad Pro 2021 might cost. But the previous model started at $799 for an 11-inch model, or $999 for a 12.9-inch one. So the iPad Pro 2021 might come in at a similar price. There's one rumor that we've heard more than any other about the iPad Pro 2021, and that's that it will have a mini LED screen. This is a type of LCD screen, but one that offers improved contrast ratio and color reproduction over standard LCD displays. It's also less likely to suffer screen burn-in than OLED, which is currently the display type of choice on high-end phones. We first heard that the iPad Pro 2021 might have a mini LED display back in April 2020, and that rumor has popped up multiple times since then, with one source saying this display tech will enter production either at the end of the first quarter of 2021 or in the second quarter. This then is looking very likely. However, one source reckons that while there will apparently be both 12.9-inch and 11-inch iPad Pro 2021 models, only the larger of them will use mini LED. That's a claim we've now heard more than once. We've also heard, though, that following these mini LED slates, another iPad Pro could land before the end of the year with an OLED screen. Putting out that many iPad Pros in 1 year, though, would be an odd move, and other sources have suggested that mini LED is the end goal rather than a stepping stone on the road to OLED. One other source does mention OLED, but suggests that these models won't land until 2022, which seems more likely if it happens at all. While there might be significant changes to the display for the iPad Pro 2021, it sounds like the design might not be undergoing such an overhaul. The renders below may provide a crude look at the design, show thinner bezels than the iPad Pro 2020 has, along with squared-off edges, a squarish camera module on the back, and a power button on the top edge. The source also suggests that the slate has quad speakers and a magnetic port to charge the Apple Pencil, just like its predecessor. So from this, it sounds like the design is being tweaked, but nothing more. And another source has suggested similar, stating that the lens glass will now be flush with the camera protrusion, and that the number of speaker holes has been reduced by 2/3, but that the design will otherwise be similar. Though they additionally claim that the iPad Pro 12.9 2021 will be 0.5 millimeters thicker than its predecessor, which would make it 6.4 millimeters thick. We don't know too much about the iPad Pro 2021's specs yet, but when it comes to the camera, the renders above show a dual lens, one with a LiDAR scanner, which is in line with the current model. We've also heard that the iPad Pro 2021 might have an A14 Bionic chipset like the iPhone 12 range, and support 5G, which would be a first for Apple's tablet range. The iPad Pro 2021 could have an even more powerful chipset that's on par with the M1 chip in Apple's latest Macs. And looking beyond the iPad Pro 2021 itself, Apple might be planning to launch a new Magic Keyboard alongside it. That theory comes from the existence of several patents for tweaked versions of the device, one of which shows touch-sensitive strips in place of a trackpad, along with a microphone and vibration sensors. Those sensors would be able to sense gestures made on a surface the iPad was placed on, for example, a swipe across a table, and sense the force used to press keyboard buttons, allowing for a different input based on how much pressure was used. However, as always with patents, we take these with a pinch of salt, as very often nothing comes of them. The source who has been accurate on Apple iPad leaks in the past includes a photo that shows a glossy Apple Pencil with a longer tip than we've seen on the previous stylus from the company. Exactly why that tip may be longer is currently unclear, but it may be that this is for additional features Apple will announce on the iPad Pro 2021. More recent rumors have indicated that the new iPad Pro will feature performance comparable to what we are seeing from the Apple M1 and the MacBook Air and MacBook Pro. That would certainly be a massive leap from its current configuration and perhaps put a permanent end to the question of whether the tablet can be a laptop replacement. Other upgrades include the introduction of a 5G cellular option, given that all 4 iPhone 12 models move to 5G. It's very likely that this will be the only cellular option for the iPad Pros in 2021. The iPad Pro 2021 isn't likely to feature any major design changes, but between the display and the internal upgrades, it should once again reign supreme among the best tablets in the market. The almost iPad-like MacBook Air M1 2020 may have won over some converts, but that same power with the flexibility of the iPad as a standalone tablet with the Apple Pencil, and as a laptop when paired with the Magic Keyboard, is a tough combination to beat. The iPad Air 4 will remain a solid option even after the release of the iPad Pro 2021, but if the rumored updates hold true, the Pro will once again put distance between itself and its less expensive relative. Apple's iPad Mini 5, iPad Air 3, and 10.2-inch iPad are worth a look if you want solid performance, but don't want to break the bank. The same goes for the new iPad Air 4 and 8th Gen iPad. You'll also want to investigate the 2018 iPad Pros, which can still hold their own. They're also much cheaper than they once were thanks to the 2020 iPad Pro launch last year. Apple released new iPad Pro models with an assortment of upgrades, including new processors, a LiDAR scanner for enhanced AR augmented reality, and better microphones. Apple's rumored 2021 iPad Pro, but rumors have outed a number of potential features, including faster data speeds, new display technology, and an improved processor. If it does, the iPad Pro will again be the obvious choice for those who need high-end performance from a tablet. iPad Pro 2021 is expected to be launched this month in the upcoming March Apple event. That is it, guys. What features would you like to see in new Apple iPad Pro 2021? Let me see your comment below.